sports are really important vehicles for relationships.
We have purpose. We have a why. We bring people together. We connect.
I feel like God is our greatest supporter and our greatest coach.
This is Rabbi Erez Sherman, the Rabbi on the Sidelines, where we speak about two words that often don't intersect: faith and sports. This morning, we are joined by Talia Caldwell from Los Angeles originally. She played for the University of California, Berkeley, up north. Final Four participant, professional basketball player, both in the WNBA and in Israel and around Europe. But most importantly, her work off the court that has shaped her own community and communities around. Talia, it is so good to see you. Long time no see. How you doing?
Yes, good morning. Good morning. I know, unfortunately, long time no see in person, but hopefully that changes soon, but we're being safe, which is most important.
That is true. So Talia, you and I connected a couple of years ago when we had a mutual friend. It was actually my daughter's preschool teacher, who is your friend, who told me, "Hey, Rabbi, I have a friend that played basketball in Israel. Do you want to meet her?" I was like, "Of course." So you came to our basketball camp, Sinai Temple basketball camp, and you, beyond your court prowess, you were just an inspiration to me and to all our entire community. And then we had coffee after, and your story just blew me away, and you inspired me to do a lot of the work that I'm doing, both in the sports field and the faith field. So I actually want to go to your story off the court, because you shared with me several generations ago about your great-grandmother. Tell us a little about your great-grandmother and how that connects to us.
Yes, well, down in the lineage, she was from Germany. She came from Germany as a Jewish woman, fleeing the persecutions of the time, and came to Canada and settled. But yes, German Jewish ancestry that, a lot of people might not assume, changed her last name from Roth to Gottlieb, which I don't understand what she did if she was trying to hide. She went from one Jewish last name to another, which is, I don't know if she knew that. But yes, and settled in Canada and eventually married and had kids with a Black man from up that way. And then most of my family is now in the Michigan area. So, yeah.
And take us actually to your time in Israel. Were there any types of connection points to your great-grandmother doing any research that way?
It's been tough because, when she came here, because of her family didn't really approve, it was the times. It was hard to see her, leave her family and then, a married Black man at that time, which was like, oh, wow, that's different. Her family and her didn't stay in touch a ton. So we're still trying to connect more dots. I forgot the small village in Germany where she's from, but we do have the name of that. But I wasn't able to go too far back. But when I was in Israel, I did, just from a person of faith, growing up in the Christian tradition, specifically for me, the Old Testament is all there, and Jesus and the whole Bible is just right there. So I definitely went all over, mapping out areas that, you read about. Because I'm always reading the Bible and we'll Google what the modern, country is. And a lot of times it's in that area, and it's cool because I've also even traveled those waters when I was playing in Greece. I was in the island of Kos specifically. So it's funny how God works, because I could have been anywhere in Greece, but I was in the island of Kos, which was literally 30 miles, a ferry ride I could see from the next land being Turkey. And that specific place that I was looking at would have been modern day Ephesus, which is, Ephesians in the New Testament. So, and then going to the island of Thessaloniki, which is, Thessalonians in the New Testament, which is accredited to the, Apostle Paul. So it's crazy how I've been through all of those waters, with a basketball and a Bible in my hand.
Actually, it's interesting. A couple of weeks ago, I had Chelsea Hopkins, Israeli MVP, and she said the same thing. I said, "What was it like when you landed at Ben Gurion Airport?" And she was like, "Well, Tel Aviv sort of looked like Santa Monica. But when I got to Jerusalem, the Bible made a little more sense."
Right.
So I love what you said, holding a basketball in one hand and the Bible in the other has sort of led you through that way. I want to actually take you to a book that you recommended to me several years ago called $40 Million Slave. And this was before athletes put words like equality and justice on jerseys. Take us through the importance of that book in your own life and how you have decided to use your position as a athlete to make those changes in our society?
Right. Great question. And I want to be accurate because I told about that book in 2017. I remember early 2017 when I first met you. So that was before male athletes were putting those terms
Interesting.
on jerseys. And we've got to be very specific because, and this is, no fault to anyone, from the civil rights movement to all types of suffrages across the years from people across all colors, all fights, we are finally seeing as a society how many women were the forefront, right? Martin Luther King came late to the front. He was a pastor doing his thing. There was tons of women in Georgia, women before Rosa Parks, who were doing it. And because, we have to admit intersections we're still dealing with, like patriarchy, which is, like I said, it's fine that we're dealing with it, that a lot of those movements have been suppressed. So the WNBA athletes like in the Minnesota Lynx with, Maya Moore. She was doing that summer 2016, 2015 after Ferguson and, after Alton Sterling and Philando Castile. So they were doing that vocally with their t-shirts early, and really putting their necks out there. So I want to acknowledge them. So yeah, that book, just in general, that book has been important for the conversation because people always assume that if you are getting paid for something, you are not being exploited. And that's not how capitalism works, if I'm selling a product that you and I are making, and my profit is 90% and yours is 10 and we are equally involved in it, that's not equity, and if I have restrictions towards what you can and cannot do, and I don't have any, are you really free? Is it really a free market, society? Not too much. So I just love the title alone for people. It's crippling because it's a juxtaposition of how can you be essentially not free, but you're getting paid, because it messes up our whole notions of freedom. Freedom is not just, you're breathing. Are you free if you don't have full rights as everyone else? Are you free if you're being exploited? And I think, especially being a Black person and seeing America even starting conversations around politics now, we want to give people the bare minimum and crumbs and be like, why are you not happy?
So you brought up a lot of different things. You brought up politics, and I want to talk about business for a second, because when you're speaking about business, you have a degree in that. The first, I believe, female Cal athlete to attend the Haas Business School at University of California.
Yes.
What did that mean to you in terms of bringing that aspect into your athletic career, that you can help change the face of sports? And by the way, when you talk about women's sports and being the front, the face of that movement as well, I'm reading Etan Thomas's book right now, We Matter, and he interviews Swing Cash and Maya Moore, and they made a difference by not just their voice, but in fact their actions as well. So bring that business aspect into what that's looked like for your athletic career and making changes.
Right. What's interesting about me, to let you down, is I compartmentalize a lot. So I didn't go into it. I didn't go into it thinking this is how I'm going to intersect the two. Like, a lot of my life is very separate for reasons that help me, like I need to focus on each task. And I don't do things like a lot of people don't realize with, women, Black women, whatever. I don't go into it trying to trailblaze. You're just living your life. Like, I don't wake up with the burden of how can I carve a lane? Like, that's exhausting. That'd be exhausting if I woke up every day. So I knew since, middle school, high school, before I had the perfect, words to it, I was like, yeah, I think I want to continue to like study things in business so I know how money works, I know how to manage things, so I can work for myself. That's just words I had. So I knew going into Cal, and that's why picked Cal, that I wanted to study business. I never actually connected the two of basketball and business. But when I look back now, I always say one day it'll all make sense. It connects the dots perfectly in terms of, language I had to things when I would hear about, contracts. And, some people hear the word, this team made X amount in revenue, like we have this great conversation right now, every guy on Twitter with hurt feelings gets mad. We talk about the equality and pay situation. And they talk about, these NBA teams, whatever, the NBA is at a loss. And I'm like, NBA teams a lot of professional male sports have high revenue and not all have a profit. There's many teams that are being propped up, because a lot of people are operating at a loss, but you invest in it for other reasons. And that just blows people's mind when you start bringing in revenue, cost, and all of these things and profit. So yeah, it all worked out, but I didn't go into it with the idea of it connecting.
No, I agree. I think a lot of people don't. Most people compartmentalize. Here, I'm a basketball player. Last week, I had Dan Schulman on the show, and he was saying, look, for 2 hours, my job is to entertain people. He said he's not necessarily worried about labels, right? At the same time, 2 weeks ago, I had Andy Katz who said, no coach is going to silence a player right now to actually make those changes with the labels that they have. So take us through labels. Do athletes have labels? Should they have labels? I'm a black athlete. I'm a white athlete. What does that look like, and how has that changed perhaps within your playing days?
Yeah, I think it all depends on what you define yourself, like, I think Audre Lorde had said, if I don't define myself for myself, I'll let other people's definitions of me crush me alive. So
Nice.
it doesn't matter. It's like when people don't subscribe to race. It doesn't matter if you subscribe to it. Someone else subscribes to it, and it affects people's real lives. So it's like people who say I'm not political or that doesn't whatever, because it doesn't affect you. That's a privilege. Whenever you can say it doesn't matter who I vote for, and in any kind of way, it doesn't matter what happens. You're saying it doesn't matter because I'm going to be fine regardless. And you're not thinking about people who are not going to be fine. So when it comes to how your identities are, those are important. Whatever it is, some people's identities are, I am a child to Thomas and Marie, and that's their most important identity. Some is, I am, a Southern Baptist. I am a Midwest, like whatever your identity, because it makes you who you are. You cannot act like it didn't influence you. It didn't. You can't act. That's not possible. So I think it matters to the person. I'm not going to tell someone what their identities hold them, but we all have one, whether you acknowledge it or not. And like I said, it could be as simple as I'm a brother, I am a father, I am a student, I am a this. And also we already know it's like a given. We're not saying that's all you are. We're not saying
Right.
It's talking about communities. It's talking about things you care about. It's things that you hold dear. There's multitudes, and that's still not going to define your interest. I think the issue is nothing wrong with identities. The issue is when you see an identity and you assume what you know about that person.
Right.
If you tell me you are Polish, I'm like, you're Polish, and I respect that. The issue comes when I then say, oh, you're Polish, so this. That's where it is. That's why I hate people say colorblind society. We're all the same. There's no issue in someone being Thai, Cambodian, Nigerian, Russian. There's no issues in that. That's beautiful. The problem is when you ascribe things to them that are, you think considered less than. If you think everyone's equal, you want everyone to be who they are and still equal. Period.
So I'm going to bring it back to sports, actually, because I think sport is an equalizer that brings people together. Look, there was no way in many of my guests that I would ever have a chance to speak with them if I wasn't a rabbi and they weren't in the sports world. Right? I'm living out my dream right now. Rabbi, you're on the basketball court. You saw me in shorts and t-shirt on the court. And why are you spending all that time on the court? I said, no, because I'm not compartmentalizing. In fact, I think that to live a life of intersection these days is more important than I'm doing this, and the next 3 hours I'm going to do this. Right. You brought up the power of the word as well, and I would say you also identify as a writer. You've written not just blogs on Facebook and Instagram, but also within the New York Times as well. I want to share with you an article that you wrote after the death of Kobe Bryant for the New York Times. It was entitled, Why the WNBA Loved Kobe Bryant. And you said, I loved it. You said, I wasn't writing for the New York Times, but I was writing for Kobe. Take us through that thought process of sitting in a hotel room in Poland as a professional athlete, having the loss of Kobe Bryant, writing that article and what it meant to you, and therefore what it meant to the rest of the world.
Yes. I feel like whatever your craft is, basketball, if you are a rabbi, whatever it might be, your craft, it has to be personal to you. Once you start doing things for other people, and I don't mean not in terms of doing things that help people. I'm not saying that, but I mean, you're doing it for someone. Like, this is for that. That's why I do this. I don't preach about God because I love God, but because other people, whenever you're doing your craft, it needs to be very personal, a passion, a love, it's like a relationship, And I think we all get bogged down when we forget that. So For the New York Times, because it came as a surprise, I didn't ask them. They contacted me. There's this first, pressure of like, oh, the New York Times, and Kobe Bryant, they asked me the day he died, like a couple hours
Wow.
after, because it came out, like the next day or 2 days after. So I was first like, whoa, where'd you get my information from? How are you contacting me? Like, do you know?
And why did they contact you? Like, why did they say Talia Caldwell was the right person to write this
They
article?
knew I was, I'm not saying I'm the only professional basketball player who writes, but I am one of a few who is, that's what I do. Like, I am a writer. So they were like, you play professional women's basketball.
Mhm.
You've been accomplished in this space and you write well. So I think it was as simple as that to just knock it out the park. But there was a little bit of pressure, a little bit like, oh, shoot, the New York Times, I got to perform. And, whenever you start thinking you got to perform. And then I finally, it was like a quick 2-second thought. Then I was like, no, just do what you do. I said, because I told myself, it's like being in the zone. You're best at games or when you're in the zone. You're not thinking about your points, your stats. You don't know who's in the crowd. We all know the zone is you are locked in. You don't even see or feel anything. So I told myself, I don't care if they like it or hate it. I'm writing my words for Kobe. No, this is what I would write. And if they say, no, change it, I'm going to say, find someone else because this is what I'm writing. I can't lie to myself. So, so when I said these are my words for Kobe, it's because I believe for me, art and writing is a love letter to whatever subject you're doing, So
say that again. That's amazing. Everybody's got to hear that.
Yeah, I feel like art, whatever you're doing, whether it's film, TV, photography, cooking, any art, sculpting, it's a love letter to your subject,
Love that.
You have to fall in love with it because it's a very frustrating craft, all of this, drafts upon drafts. You have to be in love, same relationship, arguments, fights, differences. You got to be in love, So everything for me in art, it's a love letter to the thing that I'm writing about. And I always hold myself to 3 things. And one is I have to be honest to first myself. So whatever I'm feeling, honest to the subject, whatever that thing I'm writing about, whether it's music or whether it's Kobe Bryant, I'm honest to them, meaning bringing up all their complexities, And third is I have to be honest to not knowing because some people get in trouble because they're like answering every question. I'm really good about disappointing people and saying, I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I can't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a period. That's it. So those are the 3 things I'm honest to. And that was my love letter to that subject, which was Kobe.
So one thing that you wrote in that article, you said, what began as Kobe being a great father organically grew into a genuine fandom for the women's game. He didn't force his presence or praise. Mamba was simply a fan, and that sent an important message. What was his impact for you on the women's sports game? And also, I want to tie that to your college coach, Lindsay Gottlieb, who was at Cal, Final Four, and then goes actually into the men's game and is an assistant coach with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Is there a connection there? What do you see? Her, Becky Hammond now serving one game as a head coach of the Spurs when Popovich was tossed. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, the thing that I hold dear, it got cut out for Kobe specifically. I have a connection. He left us. I'm trying to find it. I cannot. He left us a grainy 2013 video wishing us luck and being like, I'm so proud of you guys, go get it, because around the time the March Madness run on our elusive March Madness run, at that point we were already we're the number 2 seed, right? So we were already a top team. Everyone knew about us. Obama picked us for his bracket, so people have been watching us. We were a very fun team. And it was during the time of season where, the Lakers were playing Golden State, and people don't realize when you travel, a lot of times you don't have access to professional arenas. Arenas are very much used for just events, whether it's a concert or a game. It's not like training facility. They don't practice there. So when they come in late at night for Kobe, who's coming off, all his injuries, he needed to use an underwater treadmill. And Cal, we have a really new high performance center that was new then. So he was there in the middle of the night, super late, and trainers were assisting him. And someone, not affiliated with our team, another trainer said, hey, our women's team is on the way to whatever round, either Final Four or something. And he was like, oh my God, yeah, of course. And so he's like, I'll leave them a message. And he, took his time in that space to be on camera and give us his all. And it just we were so excited. Like, oh my God, Kobe knows us, There's that connection. And, a lot of, that's what's so funny about people who dismiss women's sports. A lot of college female coaches have strong NBA connections. They know the game better than anyone. There's really no better basketball mind than a women's college coach. Like, I promise you, there's none. Like, Kim Mulkey, McGraw, Gino will outcoach any NBA coach. This is a fact, schematics, skill work. So Coach Gottlieb, for example, like a lot of other college coaches, had been in contact with tons of NBA, people, and they all know her. So she had known Kobe had been following her on Twitter already for years, so they were familiar. And actually, one of my injuries that I had in my professional career, Coach Gottlieb had told Kobe about me. And we just never were able to connect, officially, which really is sad. But I'm always happy to know that he knew about me, that people had told him about me, like, oh, you would love Talia. So I'm like, at least he knew my name and knew, I existed out there. So yeah, I mean, that connection was real. He took the time to do something for us that he didn't have to. So I've always appreciated that.
Nice. So I want to then go to your work off the court, and that really has gone this past year. You come home, there's a pandemic. I know you had injuries here and there, and there's an article that spoke about your work in Echo Park. But before I do that, I just want to play a quick video about the word relentless and what it means for you to be relentless. So we'll take a look at this.
I'm relentless. I am relentless. I won't stop ever, no matter how dirty the work is, no matter how hard it is. I'm not going to stop until I get the job done, whether it's in a game with my teammates or off the court, with friends, people I care about. I'm relentless. There's nothing that's going to stop me from reaching my goal. I'm just too hungry.
You're just too hungry. We're going to use that word hungry. Tell us, as you come home, you're running through Echo Park, which is a neighborhood here in Los Angeles for those watching outside of LA. What happened and what inspired you? Because there are many people that run by a homeless encampment and says they compartmentalize. They're doing this, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So what happened this past year?
Look at college chubby cheek Talia, early baby Talia. It was in the pandemic, and I just, the gyms were closed, and I'm a runner, so I had to find some place to run. And, for the first several months, I didn't, it was probably the first month and a half of me running. I didn't stop, mainly because, not because I didn't notice. I always, looked at them. When I'm running, I am in the zone as an athlete. But another thing was, I felt like I was already in their space. I was like, let's just get out of here as quick as I can, because there's their house. Like, I felt like I was kind of rude for running in their house, So a lot of it was me trying to respect them more than anything and not make a spectacle out of it. And it wasn't until, after the BLM LA march, after George Floyd was killed, and I was just feeling so emotionally drained after being there and seeing how things just got so escalated through no part of protesters, because I was there. And I just needed a release. And I just was like, I had a bunch of medical masks that my friend had gave me, or he bought.
Yes.
And you gotta remember, this is like May 30th. This is when you still couldn't find water, you couldn't find bleach. Like, the mask was like $45. And I was like, if this is a stretch for me and my friend, because I'm very frugal, and fiscally responsible, I'm like, if this was a lot of money for me, imagine someone who is houseless or working class, or you have kids. You're not spending your last $100 on masks. So I was like, you know what? Whenever you're feeling kind of down or, tired, it's always good to get outside of yourself, right? So I was like, let me go to the park and get outside of myself and see who wants these masks. And I just organically was going around asking who wanted one. I was hearing their stories about like, oh yeah, I need this because when I sleep at night, I drool, so I need 5. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're outside, you're exposed. Like, I don't have to sleep with a mask at night. I don't have to. So just talking to them. And then finally I went to one encampment that was like, the hub. Like, you could just tell this woman ran it, and I went to talk to her. It was Diana, and I wanted to ask her some questions like, hey, tell me what's going on. Like, I go to the store, I have a car, I go every once in a while, I can, get some things. What was something that you could use? Like, nothing major, just what? And she started explaining the things that are really vital to them, that I wouldn't have assumed. I wouldn't have assumed butane fuel, because that's how they cook their food with the camp stoves. And you can't find butane fuel in Vons or Rouse. You got to go to either Home Depot or Walmart, not even Target. Things like that. And ice. Didn't realize ice is their main refrigeration. Of course, it makes sense once you hear it. So ice is, you already know, like, expensive. Imagine trying to carry that in LA heat. Not possible. So, I talk about being culturally competent, whatever space you're in.
I
And
like that.
I hate the phrase, be the voice for the voiceless. No. And I heard a few years ago that's changed my life. That was, you don't have to be the voice for the voiceless. Just pass the mic. Just pass the mic.
Nice.
Just, especially people of privilege. And we all have privilege. You have a privilege as a white passing man. I have privilege as an able-bodied, non-trans person. Like, we all have privilege. Like, whoever you are, I have a privilege over a differently abled trans woman. That's a
Mhm.
fact. And that's
Mhm.
okay if I am working to tear down certain things. So in that moment of passing the mic and just asking what they needed, I learned. I was humbled because it's like, yes, I always tell people it doesn't make sense to drop off a slab of meat to a homeless encampment when they cannot store it or refrigerate it. So ask them what they need. And
Mhm.
so I went to the store that day with my own, humble $50 and bought supplies. The next day, she couldn't believe I actually carried through with it.
Wow.
She was so overwhelmed. I didn't feel like I did a lot. She acted like I just, changed the world, because I always tell someone, you don't have to change the world. You can change somebody's world, and that
Yeah.
is effective. Because
Actually,
everyone,
there's a beautiful teaching by our rabbis that says if you destroy one person, that's as if you destroyed the world, and it's very complementary to exactly what
it's
you
a
said.
fact. So I saw that and was like, wow, that wasn't that hard. I didn't pressure myself. It didn't take anything out of me. I said, I have friends who I know are always looking to do some good, who have a couple extra dollars, not a ton. It's a pandemic. We're all going through something. No matter you make $1
Mhm.
million a year or $100 a year, we're all still going through a lot. But I said, let me just see if anyone would want to, like old school, high school. Hey, here's some money. Give me some money, go to the store and pick up this. So I went on Instagram, was like, hey, you guys, y'all know Echo Park is near and dear to my heart. As an LA native, been going there for a long time. There's some friends out there who just need a couple of simple things. I go to the store. I'm able to leave my house, and safely quarantine. If you guys have any extra money and want to fill it in, here is our collective that we're starting just as a community. We're all in together, Echo Park Fund, and we'll go whenever it makes sense and help people. It was very organic. It wasn't this giant, I want to save the world. It was just, we know people with resources. We know people who need resources. Let's just connect it.
And what does that look like right now? Is it in actual organizations? Is it still organic?
Still very grassroots, still very, everyone is like, some people are like, hey, I'm going to the park today. You want to come by? It's more just like a club where we just do things, some people can't be out there, so they'll give someone money and be like, hey, go to the store for me. It's very organic. And, I was able to extend that to an event in South LA in Leimert Park, which is predominantly Black. And I had an event on October 7th called Homework and Hot Meals. And through donations of just friends, I was able to purchase, dozens of laptops, like Chromebooks, and had a local friend, Hugh, a rapper from the area who makes vegan meals, create like a couple hundred vegan meals. And it was social distance outside at the Regency West. And we had zoning and all this, like it was very safe, very professional. We planned it out. And we were able to give away laptops and help people with homework, help kids with homework and tutoring and services, and give supplies out and backpacks and clothes. Real simple.
So the last question I want to ask you, actually 2 more questions. The first is your Instagram name, 5/5 Culture. I know you also have a blog online. Tell us a derivation of that and what you try to get out on Instagram as well.
Yeah, 5/5 Culture. On the website, it's FIVE spelled out. And then my Instagram is just numerical 5/5 Culture. And a lot of people don't really know the background with that, but it's from the 3/5 Compromise in the American Constitution, which to justify slavery made African slaves property. And it wasn't until the South was like, oh, if we start counting all this property as people, we can start getting more powers in the House and delegate votes and all of that. And but to justify the supremacy they had over them, they were like, we can't make an African slave a full human. That'd be crazy. So, every Black person in America is 3/5 human. I know you could be a fraction of a human, but apparently you can. It's a really dark time because people don't realize it wasn't an unofficial. It was official. It was in our Constitution. So I hold that with me. I hold that with me, that the country that I was born into at one point considered people who look like me a fraction of a human. And so now I'm reclaiming that. I'm not the first Black person to ever say 5/5 by no means. Been around for a minute, but considering my focus is on culture, whether it's, you know, music, sports, TV, things like that, and I'm usually intersecting it with Black culture specifically. It was my way of saying Black culture, and for me, it's my way of just saying I'm whole. You know, I have it tattooed on my arm. You know, 5/5, just 5 over 5. So yeah, that's me. It's a part of me. You know.
I love it. So the question I ask every single guest to conclude our
Mhm.
show is about the future. Because if we're going to do anything, we're not just talking about what we did and what the past has given to us, but what we can give to the future. What is your message? And that's why I brought you to Sinai Temple basketball camp a few years ago, to give that message to our young kids. And they ask you the questions of, can you dunk and can you shoot the three and blah, blah, blah. But the real question, because we're really talking to an adult audience right now, but about the future. What is the message? Take away the compartmentalization, and let's put the intersection into our lives. We started with basketball. We got to Echo Park Fund. We talked about culture, religion. We named it all in 33 minutes here.
Right.
What is the future? What is the message to these young children who start with the basketball in their hand, but don't understand at this moment that they can make a larger difference by actually intersecting all of these passions?
My message is simply embrace your journey. Don't have so much resistance. Don't have any shame in where you are. Because like I said, it just makes it harder. It adds more resistance. So embrace your journey. You know, don't have resistance, don't have shame, and let yourself make mistakes. It's how you will learn. And be open to learning. Really be open to learning. And I think it'll all work out. It'll all work out how it should. All the pit stops, all the hurdles. If you're keeping your heart pure in that, you know, I think if I had to just finish it, the one quote that I would say is really good for young people, especially, I think all people, but especially young people to live by, is Thurgood Marshall, you know, the first Black Supreme Court justice, is what is the quality of your intent? What is the quality of your intent? And, you know, we all hear about intentions, but we all know intentions does not negate impact. And I think if you try to strive for a high quality of what you're doing, you can live with the failures, you can live with the bumps, the bruises, the mistakes, you know, when someone corrects you with grace and with love, you can live with it because you know your intention is with high quality, which means you plan for things a certain way, you invest, you work on yourself. Quality of your intention matters and how you do something. You know, it's like practicing bad or practicing good, because it's all practice. Life is a practice. Practice plus practice equals a practice. So just make sure the quality of it is where you can be proud.
You heard it right here, Rabbi on the sidelines. Talia, Caldwell, kavanah. That's the Hebrew word for intention. That's how we live our life.
I love that.
That is how we live our life with the purpose that God has given us and the purpose that we have to bring to this world. Talia Caldwell, so great to see you. We can't wait to see you in person, and most importantly, partner in what you're doing in the Echo Park Fund with us here at Sinai Temple. University of California, Berkeley, Final Four participant, Israeli and professional European basketball player, WNBA, but most importantly, a wonderful, amazing young person, young woman, young Black woman who is inspiring us to make tomorrow's world much better than today. Talia, it's so great to see you, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Was so great.
On Rabbi on the Sideline.
We should learn to live together. Together we will live as one. When we story. Everybody has a song. When we listen to the story, together we can grow strong. We can sing as one. We can live as one. Hey, Mato, Umanayim, Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad. Hine Mato, Umanayim, Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be as one together. And what it was is a gift. May it give forever. Umanayim, Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad.
What is justice? What is injustice? Is it just us, or does it reach out arms wide to encompass all we see, and even those we don't always see? What is the threat that eats at us? It must be more than culture war rhetoric's bank account status when all is said and done. If we loved us in a way that left you outside and cold, that built us at the cost of making you not us, is that victory or defeat? Is it justice, or was it just us? When we were kids, the map was a cabinet of curiosities. We imagined other kids in other lands with their mothers, not as others, but us. Trust is hard to come by now. We broke it into little bits along the drawn lines of class and country, gang and party, making excuses for our side and accusations at theirs. This from a letter from Dr. King. What are we writing that our children will read, that will bring them to fight for the hurting?
Let us turn our thoughts today to Martin Luther King. and recognize that there are ties between us, all men and women living on the earth, ties of hope and love, of sister and brother, that we are bound together in our desire to see the world become a place in which our children can go free and strong. We are bound together by the task that stands before us and the road that lies ahead. We are bound, we are bound.
There is a time for everything under the heavens. A time to love and to fight, to hate and simply be. What if today was the time to begin to love our neighbors as we wished to be loved?
Shower the people you love with love and show them the way that you feel. Oh, shower the people you love with love and show them the way that you feel. Oh, shower the people you love with love, show them the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love, show them the way that you feel. Oh, things are gonna get much better if we only will.
When the Jewish people are about to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai, revelation from God, they don't ask God what is in the Torah, but rather they say these two words, Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do, and then we will hear. In essence, they didn't want to just talk, but they wanted to walk. Jews like to talk, and we like to use lots of words, but we also like to walk. Walk with each other, walk with others, and in essence, walking with God. When Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel marked hand in hand with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Selma, somebody once asked him, Rabbi, did you have time to pray? And his answer, I did. I prayed with my feet. And so as we walk with the Spirit in the night, and as we walk through the dark in the night, let us call on our ancestors. Na'aseh v'nishma. Let us walk, and then we will do. Let us walk the message that we talk, the message of God and the message of each other, of love.
We will go out and adjourn the councils of despair and bring new light into the dark chambers of pessimism. We will be able to rise from the fatigue of despair to the buoyancy of hope. We will be the participants in making it so.
I walk in the Spirit, and I walk in the night. I call on my ancestors from my left to my right.
together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the palace.
It's up to us to call ourselves to task, to sing what's good and true, to bring about redemption. It's what we were called to do. For what's the point of being here if we're not moved to change our ways? Aleinu l'shabbeach. It's time to live our praise. We are carrying the stories of the ones who came before. What stories will be told of us when we are here no more? We commit ourselves to action. It brings meaning to our days. Aleinu l'shabbeach. It's time to live our praise. It's up to us to own our vision. We are the answer to our call. It's up to us to live the words we speak for the benefit of all. It's up to us to bow down. There's a broken world to raise. Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise.
All right, so we talked about teaching people how to be and what to be and where to be and why to be. You have to be perfectly taught. This says, Lo yilmedu od milchama. You will not teach war. People are not born to fight. People are taught to fight. People are born to live and to love. Lo yisago el goy cherev. Here we go. Lo yisago el goy cherev. Lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev. Lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yilmedu od milchama. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more.
Study war no more.
Ain't gonna
Study war no more.
study war no more.
Study war no more.
Sing it, Stephanie.